Hello and welcome back to another episode of You Want to Do What. Today we've got Jordan Magill on, and he is a product photographer. Hi, Jordan.
Hi there, folks. How's it going?
Good, mate. Good, mate. You?
Yeah, not so bad. Yeah, can't complain.
Good. We're nearly at a nice long weekend, aren't we?
Oh, it's Bank Holiday Monday, isn't it?
It is. Yeah,
Yeah.
I keep
Oh
forgetting
God,
that.
I'm freelance, mate. Sometimes every day is a work day, or every day isn't a work day.
Jordan, if you jump straight in, do you want to tell everyone a bit about what you do?
Yeah, sure thing. Okay, so I'm a product and advertising photographer. I've done it for nearly 10 years. I literally applied for a junior photography role nearly 10 years ago. I got into a studio. After about 2.5 years there, I went freelance, admittedly, actually a little bit too early. I then started to get in other studios. I started to assist a really good photographer. And it's just gone from there, really. It's just winning new clients, just growing. Yeah, it's been good. It's been good. It's been a challenge, but it's fun.
So, why photography, mate? Was this an interest from
Oh,
school, or how did you develop it?
it's actually quite funny. So I did public services in university, and I was in my second year, and I was introduced to a guy called Adam Lupton. He's now actually a really good retoucher. And he basically, I met him through my girlfriend, now wife, and he lent me his camera, and he had this camera with him all the time, and I was always curious to how it worked. And eventually, he lent me it, and he let me borrow it for like 3 weeks, and I really enjoyed it. Like there's not many. I wasn't very artistic in certain mediums, but photography was something my brain really enjoyed it. I don't know. I just really got into it, and then I think towards my third year of university, I dropped out, and I just pursued photography.
Wow, so that's a big decision. What made you actually go? Actually, university just isn't for me, and I'm going to pursue this properly.
Yeah, so this is a bit of interest one. So I was on a public services degree, which I still can't really tell you what that means. But if you want to go into the if you want to go into the police or the army or the emergency services, it's a good route in there. But I changed tact. So in my second year, we were told we could specialize in criminology, and when it got to that, they were like, "Who told you that?" So for me, I was like, Do I want to do this?" And to be honest, I was kind of just in uni because that's what you do.
Mm.
I was just not following, well, kind of following the herd. Yeah, I mean, yeah, totally, especially with public services. I mean, when I was younger, I did want to go into the Marines, then I wanted to go into the police. I broke my ankle, which sort of muddied the lines into that. But then, once I dropped out of uni, I just started going out on my camera every day.
So for you, what was the development of teaching yourself to be a photographer? Like, it's not obviously you can go to university and do it. You can go on courses to do it. What
Yeah.
was your process of learning to improve in that skill?
So for about 4 months after uni, I didn't have a job, and I went out on my camera every day, like every single day, every night. I was just learning how it works. I was doing a lot of landscapes, long exposures. And I'm a little bit self-taught. I don't have a degree in it. As you said, I dropped out of uni to do it. So yeah, it was kind of just a passion. Like I just developed. And then eventually one day, my missus just sort of said, "You should go for this job. Like I think you could do it." And I thought of every excuse. "I'm not ready. I don't know how to do this." And I actually we're probably going to get onto that, but yeah, sort of self-taught.
Wow. So, I mean, a while back when I was sort of figuring out what I wanted to do, I actually got into photography a little bit as well. Very, very, very amateur. But one thing I always struggled with was like I'd watch some videos on YouTube, but I never knew how to decide if my shots were any good. How did you sort of come to the conclusion that, oh no, actually, I'm quite good at this?
So that's a good question. So like, if you might remember Flickr, you probably went on it at one point. I still have an account on Flickr, but it's locked out. I can't get the password. All my images are on there. So I kind of compared my work to what I saw on Flickr every day. But Flickr's some of it's a very amateur community. So it was the same stuff. I was photographing ducks at duck pond, star trails, landscapes, going to the zoos, just taking my camera everywhere. And then I started to see my images got better. And as I understood it more, and I knew in my head, I wanted them to look a certain way. And when I started to achieve that, I thought, do you know what? I might be all right at this, which was actually, I hadn't really been amazing at something before, but I'm not saying I'm amazing at photography. I am amazing at photography, but it's sort of got onto it. Like, I enjoy this. I think I'm good at it. I wonder if I can pursue this. And I mean, at the time, I didn't know I was going to go into photography. Truth be told, I was just winging it. I was just having fun with my camera, and I was that young where I thought, well, I'm at the age where you can take risks like this. But
Yeah.
not that I encourage other people to drop out of uni, but I wouldn't always encourage it as the path
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, we always talk about that. You know, uni's definitely not for everyone, especially nowadays. There's other routes into doing things. But for you, learning photography, how did you go about it? So, you know, you took your camera out every day, but then how did you decide, actually, I'm going to really kind of focus in? And did you carry on self-teaching with YouTube or courses or mentorship? How did it go for you?
So as far as being an artist concerned, I'm not. I'm a bit of an island, so which isn't a good way to be. And any CGI artist will even tell you that you should always be learning. And I still do learn, but once I got my job in a studio, I never looked at YouTube, and because I was learning off people who were doing it in front of me and making money off it. So when I got in, what got me my job in photography in the first studio was my passion. They saw how much I wanted to learn. So, you know, I didn't have a portfolio. I was showing them pictures of like duck ponds and star trails and landscapes. But when I said I really want to learn, if you could just see I was passionate, and they gave me a shot.
Wow. So what's an average day like then for somebody in your field?
Oh, an average day shooting or finding work, because there's two sides to the business. And I actually thought quite hard about this today, but
Yeah, let's do
yes.
both. Let's go for both.
So, I mean, doing a shoot's fantastic. Winning a client's fantastic. But one thing I wanted to get to across to people listening to this who might want to get into photography is, and a lot of photographers I work with now might not even realize this, but you only work in photography last. You work in marketing and lead generation, and this is a discovery I'm very new to. And you don't get to do photography without finding the leads. So, I mean, when I went freelance, I very quickly realized there's so many photographers out there, and you need to differentiate yourself. So shooting, actually doing photography, waking up, packing the kit, going out on a shoot is fantastic. And there's nothing better when a client sees their image come up on a screen, and you can see the shoulders drop a little bit, because, you know, it's an investment. And that's it. Yeah, so photography and actual dates, it's so busy. You end up doing your shoot, you're out there, you're creating images, and by the time you get in your car, you're absolutely exhausted. So an actual day of doing photography, it isn't a day. You know, you do your shoot, might be 8 hours, you get home, you need to put all your stuff away, you need to power your batteries back up all the hard drives. It is, you know, seriously, if you come back from a shoot and all your images are on one hard drive, you know, there's a little bit of anxiety that comes with that, because some of these budgets for the shoots we go on are pretty big. So that's a photography day. And our marketing day, there's a very, very different job, and it's not one a lot of people probably expect, but no one's going to know you're the person who can fix their problems if you don't tell them that. And a lot of photographers don't like to market. So I'm going off track. So marketing day for me is, anyway, I'm very different to a lot of photographers. I think I am anyway. I'm pretty sure I am. I don't know a lot of photographers who wake up every morning and write direct response copywriting, which I do. So most of my day, like today, it's been training. I'm doing a course. I'm doing copywriting. I'm looking at email funnels. I've just realized I need to take a chunk of my website down because it's not performing very well. I'm organizing, I'm doing production. I'm organizing a shoot for next week where I have to organize a location house, models. So none of this is photography. It's logistics, it's marketing, and and this is what you need to do before you even do the photography. And, you know, a lot of us are late to that party to realize that. Some of us aren't. I mean, I think most of us probably are. I certainly was.
I mean, that's such a good point, because like you say, people that want to go into photography, they think this is fantastic. You know, I can go out and I can shoot all day long, and it's just not the case. You know, there is a lot more to it. And am I right in saying you've recently found LinkedIn?
Yes, which is, I think, obviously where you found me from. So so this is LinkedIn. I've been posting solidly just for over a year, but like a lot of photographers, and I'll say a lot of photographers, I'm pretty sure a lot of photographers just open the website, tell everybody, here's my website, let me know what you think. And then they kind of sit back and wait for the work. I've done this before. I still do it now every now and then. It does work. You might get an inquiry. It's probably going to be from the wrong kind of person. But yeah, so LinkedIn it's a new thing for me, and that's through a mentorship. So I have a photography mentor. He doesn't teach me photography, he teaches me photography business. Now I've been working for him for the past year, and he's helped me be more visible. I'm now currently working with another mentor who's going to help me target the market I want, or help me push that even more. So as you can see, it's you need to learn. Like in photography, you never stop learning the actual lighting and skill side of things, but you've got so much more to learn. And yeah, so LinkedIn is new to me. Yeah.
Is the majority of the photography world all done by individual freelancers, or are there companies that sort of just have a a chunk of photographers under them and then just agency them out? Or
Oh yeah, I do that as well. I mean, so I work for I'm probably one of the few freelance photographers around Manchester and Liverpool. Like it's such a small industry, honestly. I freelance in about 11 different studios on and off. I do shoots through these guys. These are their clients, so I do shoots for them. They charge me out exorbitant fees. So yeah, these studios, and that's this is what we'll talk about when I talk about the people who are interested in getting there. Is I recommend a studio over uni personally. I'll touch more on that as well as we go.
Yeah, let's go into that. What's your perspective on that?
Okay, so I did public service at uni, didn't do photography. I can't speak to any of the current curriculums that go on. I can speak to the ability of students, and I've worked with a lot of them, and they are a pleasure to work with. But my God, and I'm not slating anybody here, but this uni, from what I can see, doesn't prepare you to work in a studio. It teaches you concepts. It teaches you how to be an artist. We are all technicians. Most of us are technicians. So for anyone looking to go into photography, you can go the uni route. You're going to get into a lot of debt. You'll have a great time. You might come out of it with some skills, but you're going to come out of it knowing about artists and why certain photographers photograph oil slicks on the motorway. And we don't do any of that. We learn how to, where I work, you need to be able to light a chrome toaster. You need to be able to light fabric. You need to understand lighting and technical photography elements, which from what I can see, university, it doesn't really set you up. Everyone I've worked with has said the same thing to me. They go, I can't believe how much I've learned in these couple of weeks versus 2 years at uni. I actually worked with a fashion degree graduate, and for 2 years, she knows how to use a camera. She's a great photographer now. She's doing it herself. And she went to uni, but the main thing there is she also went into a studio, which was where she did most, in my opinion, most of the learning, because I explained to her how an aperture worked. And it baffled me a little bit. She didn't know that, but I'm always happy to teach people. I'm always happy to, help people. But she didn't understand how an aperture worked, and that was something I read in a book and a manual when I was just having fun. So, but I'm a technician. I'm not an artist, and this is one thing to get across: is the two very different things. They trade differently and they get paid differently. I'm
so glad you say this. I advocate for people going into work essentially opposed to going to university. Nothing wrong with university.
Yeah.
Tom went to university. He's an engineer. He loves what he does, and his degree was totally necessary for him.
100%.
But you've got to look at what you want to do, and if you don't know, don't maybe go to university and get in a load of debt and just sort of enjoy yourself. I think Tom might have a slightly different perspective. He knows people that have done that and really enjoyed themselves.
Yes.
But I just think you will learn so much more by using those 3 years you were at university to go and try a load of different things.
100%. In my opinion, 100%.
I think I just want to touch on something you said about you call yourself a technician, which I think is quite an interesting way of phrasing what you do. In the fact, where do you sort of think you draw the line between a photographer being more of a technician to an art side? Like, you obviously photograph products, whereas if you were to go more into the fashion side of things, do you think it'd be a little bit more arty, or where do you sort of draw that line between what you do and what other people do?
So for me personally, there's nothing wrong with being either. You're both photographers at the end of the day, but I'm going to use a very famous photographer as an example. He's called Nick Knight. Now, I might get some flack for saying this, and he's the first person to admit he isn't a technician, he's an artist. If you go on Instagram and look at Nick Knight, he's probably got like 500,000 followers. His day rate's probably like 20 grand. My day rate's not 20 grand, but he's the first person to say he's not a technician. He doesn't understand technical lighting. Now, fair play to, he doesn't need to understand. He can make people look incredible in his own style, and that's the catch, in his own style. So when you hire a technician, like a product photographer like me, I'll do everything I can to make your brand look incredible. I'll make images your customers will stop scrolling on and click. An artist is a bit different. They'll still do the same thing, but it's more their style. Whereas when I work for a brand, I'm making images tailored to them. When you book an artist, you're booking them for their style. And there's a bit of crossover, but I've worked with some fashion photographers who I've assisted some fashion photographers on only a couple of days shoots at a time, and they have eye-watering day rates. And I've seen them make some great excuses to dance around the lighting issues, and they work because they're very good people pleasers. The people persons, you know what I mean? very social. They're more social than me anyway, which it totally works for fashion photographers. You can make a good living as a fashion photographer if you've got a cool haircut, a cool shirt, and you have a basic understanding of photography and lighting. You can make a good living, and I know people who do that. But the technician side of it, you'll find me with my headphones in, boxes piled around me, crazy lighting setups, and I make products look incredible. Whereas an artist would make a product look good in their own style, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense. So why product photography? You talked about when you started, you went out and photographed everything, but what made you really go, do you know what, product photography is where I really enjoy and I'm really good at?
So product photography, in my opinion, is super hard. Like it's anyone can do it, but trying to make stuff look, I mean, everyone does do it. This is one of the hardest things I had to do is I have to sell people my images when they've got a camera in their pocket. Like it's a hard job to try and sell sometimes. But product photography was something I worked in a product studio. So I imagine if I'd have got a job in a headshot studio, I might have gone more down that route. But products are something I realized the challenges. I going into my first photography studio was like Charlie going into the chocolate factory. I looked around, I was like, this is incredible. It's all smoke and mirrors. It's all fake. It's all illusions. I love it. Some of the stuff I see and some of the stuff you see on the screen, when you look at it, you think that's not the product. I'm not talking about mis-selling products. I'm talking about when you look at the set versus the image, it's like, oh, wow, it's totally an illusion. It's like magic. And that I was drawn to that.
And has this kind of industry, or this part of the industry, product photography, exploded with the advent of e-commerce and the ability for people to essentially create these companies at scale?
You might think that, but when you get a lot of people, when they buy products, not everybody, but a majority of you buy them white label. And usually when they do this, it comes with some sort of supplier imagery. Now, one of my jobs is convincing people supplier imagery is bad, and it is bad. It's lit bad. It's usually pixelated, and it makes your website like a jumble sale. Totally my opinion. So you'd think it'd be really easy, but we got to remember is the UK is 80% service-based economy, and I'm servicing the 20%. And in that 20%, there's a very small percent of that who actually have the means to book me, to work with me. And I did try, and a lot of you will try and do this if you're a photographer. You'll try and save the world. You'll try and help everybody, but you just can't. You'll burn yourself out and you won't make any money. So yeah, it's a tricky one with products, but it's what I fell into. And there is these garments and fashion. I still do shoot fashion, but again, my fashion's quite technical. I mean, I see a lot of fashion photographers shooting one-handed, got cool music on. They've got the jazzy shirt and they're doing the thing, and everyone loves it. They're having a great time. I'm a little bit more like, oh, this skin tone's a bit blown out here and this needs to be flagged off here. It's the technician versus the artist thing again. I've just gone on a rant. What was the question?
No,
that was it.
That
was good. That was it.
Oh, good. Cool.
What do you reckon are some key personality traits for someone being a photography technician?
I don't know, man. I mean, I'm a bit different. I've got ADHD and my brain works a bit differently with the way it processes information. I mean, like, I look at light, color, and stuff. I'm not saying differently. I'm not like a special child sort of thing. I'm just, the way my brain works and the way my job works is it really works well for me. I just don't quit. Like, that's the thing is it's a defeating job. Like, sometimes you'll do a shoot for someone, they might not use the images and you got to think, oh, I've done something wrong. You've got to try and not get too caught up in this. If someone doesn't use your images, it might be because they're not going live yet or anything. I mean, eventually you'll see them out there and they'll go out there, but what makes sort of me, I don't know, man. I mean, I've never really thought about that. I'm determined. I don't quit. I'm not afraid to fail. I love to learn. If you think you know everything in this industry, you will not get far in it because you just won't. In my first studio, there's a photographer who's about 75 years old, and the first thing he told me is I still learn stuff. So that set out the learning curve for me very early on. And it was when I thought, yeah, I'm up for that. I don't want to stop learning. And it's I mean, like I do direct response copywriting courses. I do a lot of stuff like that. So you've just got to be afraid to get stuck in, not be afraid of rejection. You've just got to go for it. You've got to hit the ground running. You've got to hit the ground running. And then, yeah, just go for it. See what happens. Like you won't know until you try.
And for you, what's been the biggest positive you've personally taken out of working in this industry?
It's realizing what I'm capable of, like from going freelance, I guess. Like I'm self-employed. Like I never thought in uni or college I'd run my own business. Even saying that sounds crazy, but I do run my own business. Yeah,
That's
it's
really
just
cool, yeah.
it's pretty great. Yeah, it's great. I don't really know what to say about that. It's mad.
What would be some negatives of this industry that you've discovered over the years?
Oh, it's a very low confidence industry. And I saw a graph a long time ago. I don't know what the study was, but it looked at like confidence in certain industries. So you have the investment and finance industry. You've seen Wolf of Wall Street, the confidence levels. I mean, 1 and 1 is 2. It's never going to change. What photographers do is you are putting your art on the line. You're putting your images on the line. You have to perform. You have to be good. There's other people who can do it. It's negative as well because you're often seen as, and a lot of new photographers experience this, you are seen as something that's nice to have. If you don't have the correct systems in place, people will book calls for you to fill their afternoon out because they want to talk about their brand. It's a nice thing to have. You need a website. You need a social media account. I say you need a photographer, but a lot of people don't think that. And you look at some people who try and sell on LinkedIn and you look at the photographers who try and sell on LinkedIn, and some people have queues and some people will talk to you like now. If you could book a call with someone in an hour and they'll be on the phone with you trying to sell themselves. I don't do that. I'm actually moving to a model where if you want to book a call with me, you actually have to pay for it. But that's a whole other story. But I'm trying to attract a different market.
On a different note, though, when obviously people are starting out in this industry, obviously to look at what a freelance photographer requires, you've got cameras, lightings, a decent PC, I can imagine as well.
I've got a couple.
Yeah, exactly. It's quite a lot of money you've got to put behind it to get all your gear. How do you sort of develop that over the years, and what sort of things should you expect as a new photographer, maybe trying to become a freelance photographer?
Well, I mean, first off, if you want to go and work in a studio, they provide all that. You don't have to bring any of that. And that's why I advise you do, is you go and be a junior, you sweep the floors, you help the photographers, you make brews, and you learn lighting. Yeah, like I say, so studio-wise, you're all right. Don't worry about that. If you are an individual looking at getting set up on your own, you need a good camera. You don't need to go mental. Don't buy anything too low-end. Please don't message me and say, what camera should I buy? Because I look like once every 7 years when mine breaks or it's too old. But if I could recommend anything, just get yourself a good camera and learn flash. Get yourself a single light, secondhand off eBay, and learn to do everything with one light. In the first studio I worked at, there was a photographer. He always used 12 lights, and I guarantee he didn't know what any of them did. He just flooded the set with light. And if I went to that studio now, they'd probably still be there. Get yourself a camera, get yourself a light. Don't be an island like I was. Get on Pinterest, look at other people's work, try and create it. And just as what you can really do, if you this is probably a question for later, but kit wise, yeah, you literally need a camera and a light. Get yourself a couple of attachments, see what they do. Just learn lighting, and don't try and convince yourself, I only use natural light, because professionals know that just means I don't understand flash lighting. And the flash lighting is something you need to learn, especially if you're in the northwest of England like me, because summer is 2 days a year.
And how do you go about, without going too far into detail, how do you go about pricing your services? Because I think this is one which is, we've talked to a few photographers, and this is always, they say it's really hard when you become a freelancer to know what to charge. How have you decided what you're going to do? You don't have to give us super detail, but just a general idea.
It's very, very tricky, because what you think you can charge, whether you know it or not, it's kind of linked to your confidence. And I'm not going to give you away too much, because I've actually paid for this information. But it's kind of showing people you can fix their problem. And the only thing I'll tell you, if you want to get into photography, is niche. Is just niche down into something, because that will allow you to charge higher day rates. But the pricing thing, you're going to have to figure that out on your own, because even to this day, I change my prices a lot. What you'll say, if you want to work in a studio, look at the rates. Don't ask one person and do what they say. Ask a couple of people in different studios. Some people won't want to share it to you. I've been asked in a studio, what am I charging for today? And I'd refuse to tell them, because, the walls have ears and all that. And before you know it, there's a mutiny. But yeah, pricing wise, there's not a lot I can say, guys. It depends what industry you go in. What I will say, if you want to charge a lot of money, go into wedding photography. You'll never have a weekend to yourself, but you'll probably earn about $2,000 a week when you get there, when you get to the final, when you start to get reviews and known. But pricing, it's so different. I actually work with a photographer. I'm not going to say too much about him or what he does, but he's world famous in a certain area of photography, and he works with very affluent clients. And one of his packages is around the £20,000 mark.
Wow.
yeah, so that just goes to show you there's people get paid more than that. There's people who get paid peanuts. There's someone I saw on Facebook years ago who'll go anywhere in Yorkshire for a tenner and do headshots. I won't want that person in my house. So, pricing wise, guys, do your research, look at what's out there, and don't copy people. And whatever you do, I did this when I first started out. Don't let someone knock your confidence because you charge too much. When I first started out, someone said, that's an outrage. And I cut my prices, and it was the stupidest thing I've ever done, because I actually realized I was charging less than the photographers. And I don't mean this in a bold way or anything, but the people who were less skilled than me were charging more than me. And that's, that still happens now. I'm putting my prices up in June, and it's going to be eye-watering amounts.
And would you still go into this industry knowing everything you know now?
That's a tricky question, because I don't think I would. I mean,
wow.
I don't think I would, if knowing what I know now. That's not saying I would ever quit, because I'm here to stay, guys. But knowing, if I had the brain I had now and I could put it into the younger Jordan, I'd probably let him go into information-based business where I wasn't directly linked to my labor. Personally, but I don't want to be a photographer. I love what I do, guys. I won't quit. I'm not throwing in the towel. I don't want to throw in the towel. I actually say I love what I do. It's hard, but I show up every day. But yeah, with that knowledge, I mean, maybe I would have gone into wedding photography.
Well, thank you so much for coming on, Jordan. It's been a genuine pleasure having you on, and you've been really honest. So we really appreciate that. Yeah,
no worries, guys. Thank you very much for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you so much. Where can people find you, see what you're up to, see some of your photography and your business?
Okay, definitely should have prepared this earlier. So they've got magillphotography.com.co.uk. That's my website, and that's MAGILL photography.co.uk. I've got my Instagram, which is Jordan_Magill_product_photo. You just look for a ginger guy with an orange background. I'll pop up. If you just search Jordan Magill in Google, I do pop up with all the other photographers with the last name Magill, but I am up there. And yeah, just give us a follow, guys.
Brilliant. Thank you, Jordan.
Yeah, it's been an absolute pleasure, folks.